Professor Emeritus of Literature at New York University, NYU. Kristin Ross, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Recently translator of a book written by one of the activists.
No, not one, a collective.
A collective of the activists, thank you for the correction, at Notre-dame-des-landes. Now, to explain this for our world audience, here you have this battle, which had lasted for years, to stop the construction of an airport. Emmanuel Macron's government back in January deciding, no, let's put it away, siding with those who considered it was a bit of a white elephant. But then there are those who stayed behind. Before we talk about the violence aspect of it, there's criticism of them from a lot of quarters saying they've won their battle. Why don't they give up the fight now? Why stay?
Well, they stay because they've been living there for a long time. That's their life. And they've created a community together, and they've created a way of managing their own affairs that has to do with farming collectively and living through the experience of the various kinds of solidarities that they formed during what was an incredibly long battle. So, and you have people, you know, it's funny, people have a certain kind of an image of the ZAD occupiers that comes almost out of the Mad Max trilogy or something like that. It's a media image that is somewhat demonizing. And in fact, the first time I went there, I was very surprised to see old people, young people, babies. There are more babies at the ZAD than there are in many French villages.
Most of the people are peaceful. There are some people who are violent. We've seen it with other protest movements around France in recent years. The No Borders who showed up and sometimes can act very violently. So that aspect of it, the violence aspect of it, has turned public opinion against them. No.
No, not at all. In my opinion, I think where public opinion is turning against is the state violence, because any kind of a reasonable look at the disproportion of what's been going on in the last few days, 2,500 military people in tanks. I mean, this is war equipment going in to a tiny little area with a few hundred people. I mean, this kind of disproportion I haven't seen for some time. Not since the 1980s, I think, in the United States, when they burned down that neighborhood in Philadelphia.
The move bombing in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In this case, though, again, they won in January, and now they're illegally occupying land.
Yeah, but you could turn that around and say the state was forced to back down because of the tenacious opposition of a very, very interesting group of people, a very eclectic group of people. You know, I have to emphasize that, because there are perhaps people there that believe in a kind of frontal violence with the state. There are also people there that are very much part of the movement who are nonviolent. There are old traditional farmers. There are, naturalists who don't even believe in farming. They just want the land to go back to nature. You know, there's an incredible variety of people in this movement.
And the state has been too heavy-handed, is what you're saying. Why?
Well, I mean, what does the state has no program for this land now. They aren't going to build the airport, and instead they are taking it from the people who managed to preserve it and protect it for all these years. You know, it's interesting if you've been down there.
Why are they doing that?
I don't know. I think it's a kind of show of force on the part of Macron. The strong state, it strikes me as highly authoritarian. There was no necessity for this.
we can argue for a long time about the notion of private property and who gets to own the land. But let me ask you, because we're commemorating next month the 50th anniversary of May 68 and the student uprisings then, which was also followed by interesting experiments of people going to found communes in the south of France, particularly, but also for a lot of people, a bit of a downer. Once the movement had finished, it was hard. It's hard to come back to earth once your cause is over, your moment is over.
It's quite different, I think, at the ZAD because there was their opposition to the airport, but in the process, they also found out what they were for. And what they are for is a kind of self-reliant territory that they can manage and farm collectively.
And can they go to some other part of France where there's plenty of fallow land?
Well, there's plenty of fallow land at the ZAD, and it's not going to be an airport, so why shouldn't they just stay?
All right, Kristin Ross, many thanks for joining us. The name of the book is?
The ZAD and Notre-dame.
The ZAD and Notre-dame. Thank you for joining us here on France 24. Stay with us. There's more to come. We'll have more news plus the day's business and sports.